What is up, my loves? Welcome back to another episode of the Fully Alive podcast. My name is Stephanie Elsperman. I am your host here. I'm a coach, speaker, and entrepreneur, really here to revolutionize the way that we all see life purpose. So if there's that part of you that knows that you are here for something so much greater than just checking the boxes of success or what other people have told you is going to bring success or fulfillment, you know that there's a mission on your heart and this part of you that desires to create a movement that magnetizes millions within your life. That's what we dive into in this space, from impact-driven entrepreneurship to the high performer mind, and overall just creating a life that makes you feel fully alive from the inside out. We dive into it all. I'm so excited to have you in this space for a special edition episode of Unplugged. So if you are new here, Unplugged is a segment that my dear friend Laura Patricia Martin and I do on our podcast every single month, where we really just peel back the curtain and give you guys a behind the scenes look at the real things that we are walking through within our own lives, from people who are balancing a purpose and having a business and relationships and just existing as a human being with a high performing mind, which is that part of your mind that might, go 0 to 100 really quick. It's the part of your mind that is incredibly driven to create something absolutely magnificent in this world, but can also sometimes deal with the overthinking or the perfectionism or being really intense at times, and maybe having a little bit of a hard time turning off and shifting back into the feminine. We really give our behind the scenes take on living with that high performer mindset and the things that we're moving through and growing through and evolving, and just have a super honest girl chat. We laugh, we cry, we go deep, we have fun, and it is an absolute blast. So in this episode specifically, we are diving into a very juicy topic all around being in partnership with another person who is wildly on purpose as well. So when two humans come together, and maybe you have a very, very strong purpose and drive in this world to create something, and your partner also does, what does that look like to dance in relationship and to really find that sweet spot of supporting their mission and being a supportive partner, but also still making sure that your own needs are met? We give you the honest experiences that we've had as women who, in our cases, have men that are incredibly driven on our team, and the identity crises, honestly, that has created, and how we're balancing really holding so many different roles all at once. There might be that part of you that's like, I want to have a business, but I also want to be a supportive partner, and I also want to be a mom in the future, and I also want to take care of my home, and I want to do all of these things and be a good friend. How do I hold it all? Really just go into our own experience with all of this. It's not necessarily a podcast where we are like, we have all the answers on this. We have absolutely no answers. But hopefully there is a part of this that resonates with you and where you're at, validates something, and maybe you even take something from it into your own life. So with all that said, it's a juicy one, and let's get into it, shall we? As always, if you are enjoying this podcast, it's resonating with your soul, I would love it if you'd take about 5 seconds to go and give this a quick little rating in the Apple or Spotify podcast app, wherever you are listening to this. It helps the message get out to even more people so that we can really start to shift together as a collective, all on purpose, baby. So I appreciate you. I love that you're here, and let's head into the podcast episode. Drum roll, please. Laura, are you single?
I don't know. We're determining that.
Excuse me.
We're dating. We got a handsome man that we're dating.
She's dating.
And it's been so funny because
Such a fan.
Huh?
I'm such a fan.
I know. You knew it before I even knew it.
Never had met this person, and I was like 100%.
I was just talking about this person.
I said, I get a good feeling.
And she's like, I get a good feeling. And I was like, about what? Like, it wasn't in my radar of this happening. And it did. So it's kind of cool. But something that's been really nice is, as I'm navigating this new area of my brain short circuiting and feeling safe and wanting to be a girl and forgetting to do things simply because all I want to do is like cook and play my role, and like not because he's making me, like simply like that is literally what I want to do. And I remember Steph going through this similar thing when she moved in with Nolan. So I'm like, this is normal, Laura. This is the fact that like switching between like being in a housewife position and then also being an authority figure and a leader, like, it is normal to struggle to bounce between these. Thank you, Steph, for paving the way. It's just been like a real trip because it's funny now that I'm in it. It's like I've been with really good men. Like, I won't bash any of them. I've been with really, really good men, but they haven't been as strong in their leadership as this person. So I didn't ever feel this. Like, it was always just this, like, oh, we're doing this together, or like, I'm still leading a little bit, where like my brain literally won't tap into it. And I feel like you went through that earlier that year. So I'm curious if you want to share more of that journey with the audience.
So we'll give you context. And I've talked a little bit about this on my podcast before, but Nolan and I got back together about 2 years ago this month, like officially back together 2 years ago this month. So I moved to Connecticut 2 years ago this month. And when I moved to Connecticut, I went from being single, living in Denver in my own apartment, running my business, just being me and my vision and very, very me focused, which is what I needed at the time, A, to get my business off of the ground, B, to just survive in the world as a single woman. I had to be in that and I loved it. And I was playing and active and social and all of these things and living in a city, and then moving to Connecticut where we're in a small town and we own a home that is beautiful and has incredible property. And then Nolan and I getting back together and he's stepping up into this whole new level of his own leadership within his business. So for those of you who don't know, Nolan, my partner, is a jeweler and he is a phenomenal craftsman. He's a master craftsman. And so in moving to Connecticut, we followed a business opportunity out here for him to take over a jewelry store that had been existing in the area for 30 years. So we come out here, he moves, he's taking over a brick and mortar store. He's now has all of these clients to take care of that he didn't necessarily have before. He's also running his online business as well. And everything is just this huge expansion in responsibility. And not only that, but then we're getting back together. So he's always been an incredibly driven person. But I think before being here, we were very much able to exist in, I have my vision, he has his vision. We're building them side by side. I'm not compromising, he's not compromising. We're existing and our visions for ourselves are first and foremost.
Mm-hmm.
Then we move out to Connecticut. I was not expecting this at all. Laura saw me through the entire thing. But now we have a house and another business. And both of our businesses, and I moved out here and also falling in love again. And I remember FaceTiming Laura being outside, being like, I don't want to do anything right now. And I remember feeling all of these urges to like, I would just want to like make him breakfast and like my brain would go into jelly mode when he was around me. And I would like feel this pull and desire to look at like, what are the things that he's doing? How can we be a partnership in all of this? And I really, for me, it felt like an identity crisis because I didn't know what the fuck was going on. I was like, all of a sudden, I'm not driven by the same things I was driven by before. I'm not driven by these numbers and these milestones and the success that I had placed at such a high value before within my life. I'm like, now we live this slow life. We have this beautiful home. We're building a garden. Like, I really don't need that much to be happy. And I get to see my man in his power and in his purpose. And he's so fucking driven. And yeah, I do want to have kids. I want to see him provide. I think that that would be amazing. I love doing what I love to do. It will never go anywhere. But I really had to let myself be in that full, what I called at the time, like a mini identity crisis of like, who am I really? And what do I actually want?
Mm-hmm.
You know, what is true success for me? And I knew that for me, true success was never like, I'm just going to give all of my time to Nolan and only support his mission. I have always been very, very strong in my own purpose. Like, I'm not going anywhere, absolutely nowhere. Like, I will be in this work until I'm 80 years old, speaking on a stage at 82. Watch me be there. However, it's like going through that shift of how do we create a life together? And as a high performing woman, how do I support my man in his mission while still maintaining sovereignty on my own? And it was confusing as fuck because I also came from a background where my parents were together. and my mom was a stay-at-home mom. My dad was a sole provider, which he did so well for our family, and I am so grateful for that. However, I never saw my mom fully empowered in her stuff. Like, she had her own stuff to work through. I never saw her fully empowered in that dynamic. Like, yes, she was taken care of, but it wasn't safe. Like, I was always worried, can my mom actually stand on her own 2 feet in the world? And so my parents eventually got divorced, and my mom was like, you need to make sure that you are always taking care of yourself. You need to be independent. You need to make sure, like, no man is going to provide for you. Like, you have to be able to stand on your own 2 feet, which I'm so grateful for, and has created a lot of incredible work ethic within me, along with just my innate desire to create in the world. But that's what I saw.
Mm-hmm.
So the only thing I knew how to do was I create my vision for my own safety and my own excitement and my own purpose. You create your vision for your own purpose. And Nolan was always like, I want to, like, be the person who gets to take care of our family. Like, that's his greatest desire. I'm like, no, it's fine. Sure, whatever. And so for me, it's been a whole process of rewriting, like, what do we actually want together as a partnership and moving forward in the future. So that's a very long-winded answer, but I didn't want to leave any part out. So, yeah. And what have you been experiencing recently?
And
Laura saw me through all of this, where she was like, it's okay.
Yeah, because it's a thing where it's just like, it's normal. Like, I think it's not spoken about, which is why we also wanted to have this conversation, because I think it's just like, we see on Instagram and we see social media, and it's these happy power couples and there's doing these things. But something we don't talk often about is most of those women are submitting to their men behind the scenes. Like, they're leaders in their lives, but they submit to their man behind the scenes. And that's what I started to do outside of just like watching you and Nolan, is like, I started to study different couples. Like, I started to look at what supportive role do these women play in this masculine leadership, because at the end of the day, I don't want to compete with my partner. I have said this 1,000 times. I don't want to do the leadership. Like, I lead in my life and in my business and in my things, but like, I don't want to lead at home. So what does that look like, and how does that feel like, and what have you? And now I'm experiencing those things where it's like, it wasn't even a choice. It's like, my brain is just naturally doing these things, and I'm like it's shutting off. Like, I can't, like, I literally, we just had a retreat that we ran this last weekend together, and it was the first time that I had to like deliver a speech and be in my, what I call my daddy energy, like my alpha energy. Like, I'm here, I say fuck a lot, like, I'm talking about savage, I'm like in this phase, like da 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 da. I'm the teacher, I'm the leader. He's front row of me when I'm speaking, and I literally can't deliver my point because I can't tap into my energy, because he's sitting right there, and I don't know how to do leadership while also my man's there. That makes me feel feminine. So it was like this weird moment where, like, anytime I would like go to hit a point, I'm looking out the window. Like, I'm not making eye contact with the crowd, which is something I can learn from. And then one of my friends came up to me after and reflected back to me, is like, it was so fucking good, but every time you were hitting a point, you were looking out the window. And I was like, because my man's front row, he's no longer allowed to be front row. Like, everyone dreams about this. Like, I'm speaking on stage, my man's gonna be front row with a bouquet, and I'm like, I don't want you there. Like, you can meet me backstage. I can't know that you're there, because I can't tap in. And he even said it after. He's like, that was a new version of you, like, not in a bad way. He's like, I want to know all parts of you, and I'm so excited to know all parts of you. But he's like, that one was new. He's like, you're just so feminine in my presence. Like, that's not the vibe I get from you at all. And so it's really fun to like play with these sides. Or like, when we're working together, my brain is just like, and I said this to him the other day, where I was like, let's make you super rich so I can just do a whole bunch of Pilates. Like, I'm so down for being in your business so I can focus on being a mom. Okay. But like, that's kind of that phase. But it is, I recognize then, especially on weekends, I'll get into the weekend and Sunday will come, and I don't get Sunday scary. Sunday is my favorite day of the week, but because I've been so in my life, Sunday comes and I'm like, oh my God, I have all these things to do, and I haven't done this, and I haven't done this launch strategy, and I haven't even looked at my fucking numbers. Like, I haven't done the things that I am so hell-bent on checking all the time to make sure I am lovable and worthy and safe. And like, the way that like what I'm working through is like, yes, of course, Laura, like I'm not at the goals that I set for myself. And the truth is I will never be at the goals that I've set for myself. That's why I do them. Like it is just a continuous rolling ball that I have. And so I'm constantly going to be in this rat race because that's the life that I chose for myself. And something I'm working through right now is, does that mean I don't get a break? Like I get it. When I was broke and I had nothing, I had to work my ass off. Like that is what you do. But like what I'm navigating right now is like, I prayed for this 8 months ago. Like everything I have right now, I wrote it in a journal. I spoke it to you. I said it on this podcast. Like I said it was coming and what I was doing in order to make it happen. Now that it's here, I'm trying to shift out of the survival mode into just receptive mode. And like I'm in my life and I'm enjoying it. And then all of a sudden Sunday will come and I'm like looking at him and I'm like, and he's like, what is going on in your head? Like, what is happening? And I was like, I have to do this and I have to do that. And he's like, for what? Like he said this last Sunday where it was just like, when like kids are here, you're not going to be able to do that. Like, what do you, and I was like, you're not wrong. But like right now we're still adjusting. Like just hold on 1 second really quick because I'm not used to not being the high performer because we spend so much time like talking, not even just talking about business, like we're building our relationship and building our lives and focusing on like growing community and doing the things. And at the same time, it's like, it is a lot on his work. It is a lot like focused on like what he's doing. And I don't even need the attention on mine. Thankfully, I've built my business in such a way, like there is no actual things to fucking do. It's just, I'm so used to doing them on a Sunday. I'm so used to working on a weekend just because I had nothing else to do that now I'm like, creating chaos simply because I am addicted to chaos. And it's like, Laura, relax. Like, just stop doing these things. And I'm like,
I love it because I feel like it's the first stage of softening that grip that sometimes we can have as high performers on our time and what we're doing. And a lot of that comes out of creativity and the desire to create something absolutely fucking amazing in the world. Some of that can also come from survival and fear of like, I have to be in my business. I have to be doing these specific things. I can't possibly, you know, be in my life for 2 days with somebody on a weekend. I can't possibly do that because like something's happened and you're used to having all of your time be on what you want to do.
And on you.
So
like
much
it's a thing where it's like, no, pay attention to me, ask me about my things, do things, I do it this way, this satisfies my weekends. And it's learning how to actually collaborate and like remove the I-centric version of self, which is like me to we, what we get from like a trauma standpoint, but it's also routines. It's also how you spend. It's also what church we go to, how we balance the 2 churches that we go to. It's these types of things where it's just like, and like noticing when your body constricts because you're now outside of your control, your independence. You're now being interdependent. And it's like, oh my God, I love all of this. But like at the same time, it does make me bitter. It does make me start to get sassy. It does bring out that like projector bitterness where it's just like, but I don't want to do that. And it's like long-term game, Laura. Yes, you fucking do. You're just in a growing edge right now. And it's like nothing is burning and nothing is wrong. It's just, you know, it's so interesting. And like,
so interesting.
Because I haven't had that like with other people because they weren't as strong in their leadership. So I would just win. We would always do what I did.
Oh my God, that's so interesting. Oh, that's so interesting. Really?
Oh, yeah.
That's interesting because all I know, like honestly, all I know is all I know is that side where like we're into not what he does, but I support his mission. Yeah. He's the greatest cheerleader and supporter, but he's not coming in here and game planning my business with me. Yeah. Different. And like in terms of time and everything, that's so wild. So this is like that first introduction to what that feels like. And let's also like lay this out because kind of what we're talking about, maybe being like a little bit cryptic about, maybe some of you guys can relate. We're trying to solve this. Maybe there's an answer for it. Maybe there's not. Right. But for the longest time, and what I'm noticing in Laura is like, you guys talk about his business, right? Mm-hmm. you go behind the scenes in his business being
Mhm.
like, all right, what would it be like if he were center stage? I'm doing his marketing, I'm doing his branding, I'm making sure that he like blows the fuck up. And you notice that the conversations lean more towards his mission. And then at some point there's a tipping point, and then you get better and you're like, ask me about myself and my business. Not that he doesn't want to get to know you, it's just the
Yeah.
relationship or the conversations are kind of naturally going in that direction. This used to be the biggest point of contention in my relationship that I noticed, I think, on date 4 with Nolan. Date 4. I remember, I mean, we both like had baby businesses at the time, like barely anything, mostly just like goals and ideas, I think, at that time. We would always talk about his. He knew mine. And because, you know, being a woman on purpose, you naturally hold your goals. You naturally hold that you have a vision. You're not this like flimsy little flower who can do anything. And like, you know what I mean? Like, you are a woman of value who holds your purpose very strongly. It's just who you are. It comes across no matter what. However, if we look at the balance of conversations, the conversations would go towards his mission and his business. And I remember telling my mom one day, I was like, I don't want it to just be about him. Because I was still in that very selfish phase where we weren't looking ahead towards the life that we want to create together. We were in early stage dating, and it was so perplexing. I'm like, what is this? Like, I don't want to just be his arm candy. I don't want to just be in his thing. And it was so perplexing at the time that led me to then go into like my hyper independence, not necessarily force our conversations to be about my business at all. We still didn't, you know, like he celebrated with me all the freaking time. He knew what I did, but you know, the conversations were naturally like all about me and what I want to do and the impact that I want to make in the world. It was about him still. But now we're starting to see, like, even now in our relationship, there is that where like it's more natural for me to give time to his mission. And I don't really want him to give time to my mission. I fucking love that he's in his purpose all of the time. I love his vision. I love his drive. And Nolan and I were talking about it. And because it's the biggest thing that we just continue, like, what happens biologically for women? If anyone else resonates with this, if anyone knows, what is it? Right? Where it's like, there's this thing that happens where there's that natural, just like gravitational pull to be in support of his mission. And for the longest time, I fought it. But now we're exploring, how do I be in support of his mission and then also take care of my own needs and all of that, you know, all at once.
Yeah.
It's wild.
It's so interesting.
It's so interesting.
It's because like you just hit something on the head too. Because I'm like, I wouldn't even want you in my business.
Hell no.
Like it's no. Like when he the thing that we're navigating is his. I don't always want advice. I'm just talking. I'm like, I wasn't looking. So he'll look at me and he goes, I'm listening. I'm just holding space.
Okay. In the coaching
But,
space,
like, if I
it's different.
It's just,
I can say that.
What?
I said he's also in the coaching space.
Yeah. So it's different.
We have that.
We're learning. Not everything needs to be coached. We're learning.
I love you guys.
But it is, you hit something on the head where it's just like, yes, like the frustration within of like, ask me about my wiener, ask me about my business, like something like that. But at the same time, I'm like, I don't want your help. Don't
100%.
You wouldn't get it. Like, you just, not that you wouldn't, it's just, it's not the same. And like, I'm good at my craft. I just need to bounce things around, but like, I also don't want advice. So I get it. Like, it's that kind of thing. Whereas like, you're really good at your craft.
Yeah.
Let's amplify the fuck out of that. I guess that's the different thing where it's like looking at that kind of thing. But like, we really do, at least for me, it's like that gravitational pull. Like, I want you to be center stage. I want you. Whereas like before, I remember like a few guys ago that Laura, stop saying things like that. Like, I've dated the whole fucking planet. Like,
Men.
I'm gonna go. I remember the first guy I dated in Florida was just like, he saw me as I am, which is a leader, and he was like, it's great, I'll just be your bodyguard. And I like soaked that in, and I was like, yeah, like I'll be center stage, and like you sit here and you protect me. Where like, I recognize now why I feel so safe with this current person is I never thought anyone could ever outdo me, because I do have a very big energy and a very big just like vision and passion and energy for this work, online, offline, like all the things. And to be with someone that has that, I'm like, you go, you be the star. Like, I actually don't want to. Like, I want to be a star in the product of this, but like, I genuinely do want to go to Pilates and eat brunch with my friends and go on vacations and go to the spa. Like, I really do. On top of having the impact God put on my heart, but like, men just have this, like, they can go all day, every day energy, talk to all these people, somehow, like we were talking with Nolan, like somehow get in the room with all these fucking famous people. We have no idea how. Like, you go. Like, I don't actually want to do that. I realized I wanted to be that because I didn't feel safe and because I didn't think someone could outdo it. And I thought I had to earn it. And I thought I had to do these things. Whereas now I'm with a man that's just his natural fucking energy. So I'm like, how can I support you behind the scenes? So that just goes, like, that just takes off and that just what have you. And yes, my ego is dying in the process of that, because then it's still going, and I'm sure it'll continually do that, where I was like, can I have credit for any of this? And like, he'll instantly dish it back. Like, if someone's like complimenting him on something, he's like, there's no way I could have done this without her. Like, there's no fucking way. And like, he'll divert it back to me all the time. So I think that's where I get filled up, because it's not like he's taking full ownership over it. Yeah. Like, he's like, no, this is all her. Like, it's all her. She did all of that. And it's like, thank you. And like, that part where it's like, it's just like the feminine, I want to have kids, right? Like, I can't be center stage if I want to. I can be a part of this stage, but like, that is you. You provide, you protect, you lead. I soften, I support.
This is interesting. Okay, so many things. First of all, I love that you're in the middle of the pendulum swing, which is so healing. Like, this is why this relationship is so special. It's like, you get to witness me go through things. I get to witness you go through things. And although we have our own individual experiences, for some fucking wild reason, I can't wait to look back on this relationship when we die.
Literally.
For some wild reason, there's always like an overlap. And so, yeah, it's like Laura saw me kind of go through this pendulum swing, but now I'm witnessing her go through it, and I'm learning deeper sides of myself. I'm feeling validated in certain things that I was like, what the fuck is happening before? You know, and there's just like this deeper unfolding. So I love that you're in this pendulum swing where you are in that place of questioning. Not even that it's questioning yourself. It's like, what do I want? Oh, wait, I do want to go to Pilates. I do want to go to, like, I had that whole summer where I was like, you know, what if I were like a mom? You know, what
literally,
if I
FaceTime
were?
her every day. She's in the garden and I'm on my walking treadmill.
What if I did just, and I had a really beautiful friend in my life who was an incredible mirror of the purpose and the impact that comes through, you know, even just taking care of the household, for example. And I was very much in that questioning. And eventually the pendulum swung back, because I'm a woman who will always be on purpose in this world. I can't not create, because I would be bored if I didn't. Now I'm in the place of, I don't need to do any of this.
Yeah.
I don't need it. Like, I love that Nolan is so on his purpose, so on his mission. Like, he's such an incredible provider. I don't need this. And so therefore, let me see all the things that start to pop off from that place of true safety within myself. True safety.
And what happened? She sold out her offers in literally 12 hours?
Playing. Like, it's like, oh my gosh. So now I'm starting to recognize like what the creativity that really does come from that self-source safety of like, what if I just did this because it's my purpose, not because it is something that I need to attach every single fiber of my worth to, which I don't think is healthy for anything, you know? And so to see you in the middle of this pendulum swing, I'm so fucking excited to see even what happens on the other side as you like continue to integrate everything. But it's been so healing for me just to receive that reflection from you. So thank you.
Because I'm curious.
And I think Nolan and I were talking about this. Okay. This is a hot topic. A lot of ideas. So we were talking about this, and I was like, why is that we do this thing? Whereas women will start to like feel that gravitational pull. If you're with a man who's very on purpose, for some people, they have, you know, their own dynamics where, you know, a man will come in and support the woman's business, for example. I realized very early on that's not what I want. I love that I have a man on purpose. I love that he's a master in his craft. And we were talking the other day, I'm like, I'm so fucking glad I'm not in jewelry and you're not in coaching for us personally. Yeah. I'm like, I would think that I could do your job better than you. Like 100%. I know you're moving through that right now. That part of you that's like, I could do this better. Yep. Which is cute.
self-righteousness, the
Yeah.
competition side of things, the like I went on my run this morning and it was like, oh, I'm being a little bit more snarky towards him right now. And I'm like, fucking why, Laura? Because like, you know, when something comes out of your mouth and you're like, that wasn't nice. Like, it's
Not what I meant.
why am I doing that? It's just like the old tendency of something, and you're like, ew, I don't like that. And then I just like say sorry, like right away, and I probably look like a crazy person. But last night we were on the phone, it tension for no fucking reason. And I was like, dope, cool, let's go to bed. And I'm on my run this morning and it drops in of like, oh, there's like competition. I'm not competing with my man. Like, I'm not doing this. Where it's like, oh, well, if we're focusing on this, then I'm not focusing on me. And I'm not that I'm not focusing on me. I'm not focusing on my business. I'm not focusing on this side. I'm not doing this, da 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 da. What if I got to keep up, what have you, versus like, no, I'm being supportive for long-term vision. So I felt that side of thing on top of, you and I talked about this, where I've had to work through, I have to do this with friendships too, and like other things where it's like, your genius, just because your genius is different than mine doesn't mean you're not a genius.
Yes, 100%.
And so that's what I'm witnessing with him, is he's fucking brilliant, like brilliant human, but he does things so fucking different than me. And so instead of coming in and mothering and going, this is how you do it, this would be way more efficient, this is how funnels are, this is back-end systems, this is how this works, this is how this works, do it and shut up, like how I would normally do, I have to sit and be like, I'm not right. I'm genuinely not right. This is just the way that I've done this. And that doesn't mean I'm right, and that doesn't mean I'm a genius, and that doesn't make you a dumbass. Like, it's just different. And so as soon as I had that switch, and thank goodness for you for having that awareness and like sharing that with me, because then I like switched it and I was like, how can I look at this differently? Because old me would have already sabotaged this relationship, said this isn't going to work, picked a fight and left. Like, I already would have done that. Whereas I'm like, no, I actually don't need to date someone that is exactly like me. And I don't need to date someone that does things exactly similar to me and how I want things and thinks the same way and does the marketing experience that I have and literally has all the same signs I have and like all the things. Like, I actually don't need that. How can I learn from your genius and see it as a genius? And as soon as I did that,
see it as a genius.
Literally.
So good. I had a client, you know this, but for context, I had a client recently who asked me, that she said, Steph, do you ever feel like in your relationship, like you're growing a lot and you're hitting your head against the wall because you feel like your partner isn't growing? And I said, only if, like, not that much at this point, but only if I do, it is because I'm expecting him to grow in the way that I'm growing. I'm expecting his genius to be exactly the same as my own. And then, of course, I thought I turned these reactions off. If you guys are watching, have a thumbs up.
Yeah, you can do it at the top.
Right? But it's like, you have to see him in his own genius that's wildly different than yours. And the high performer brain is so cute because, you know, I look at, my brain has been very rewarded in our society, right? Like, if I look at how I went through school, I did well in the school system because my brain just naturally thinks like, I guess, how they create tests, right? If I look at certain skill sets that have been just rewarded in me, it's like, it's done well. Nolan's brain, on the other hand, for example, in this specific example, his brain is like the rebellious artist who his brain is so fucking genius, but it's not conventional and it hasn't necessarily always been rewarded. And so there is such a strong bone in me that is self-righteous of like, I know the right way. And every single day with an incredible partner who has a different genius is that process of like, oh, I get to witness who they are. I get to witness their X factor. I get to witness the genius that's ultimately going to make them successful in this world. So don't I dare squash it ever. I can support it. I can amplify it. I can illuminate it. I can let them know how incredible it is, but I cannot squash it in favor of my own, because then we have two hollow human beings and that's not going to create anything for anyone.
Yeah, it's the little boy. Literally.
Yeah.
Because what we can do is with our mothering energy, we come in and we sit, and without knowing, because we think we're helping, you're harming that little boy that is experimenting and trying to do something and experiment in different ways. And we come in and we're like, no, honey, this way. Basically, like, you're a dumbass versus like, I know you've been trying your fucking ass off with this. We actually went through this yesterday where it's like he's asking me marketing advice and I'm like, okay, are you looking to vent or do you want advice? Like, I don't know. And he like didn't understand the question. He's like, why would I want to vent? Like, what do you mean?
No, men
And I
don't
was
get
just
that.
like, I just go through this problem where I give advice and people don't want it. And what do you want? Like, and he was like, why? Like, to him, it's like, why would I ask you this question if I didn't want advice? And I was like, right. Okay, cool. So how can I explain this while still highlighting your genius? Because it's not like you're not fucking trying. And like making sure that I'm supportive in that way versus like,
Yeah.
why do you do it this long? This wouldn't take this long. Like, you haven't thought of it this way, which is like my natural tendency and just the way that I speak, because that's the way I speak to myself. Not the best thing. We're working on it. I get it. But like, really highlighting in the relationship aspect of like, your genius is just different. And when you ask me for advice, it's not because you're a fucking dumbass. It's I'm helping you in different ways. And how can I explain it in your communication skills so you can fucking understand it and like play with our assets versus like, how can I morph you to be exactly like me?
Exactly.
Because that's going to be more successful. And then this will be easy. And it's like, no, you're different from me. And that's what I really liked about him. Is this, I remember when we first started talking, it was about that, where it's like, I actually don't want to date someone that's similar than me. And that so many people are looking to date someone that is copy and paste model of them because it doesn't challenge you. Right. And the thing I love about this moment is like, I am challenged in so many ways. Even at this conference and we're networking, I'm sitting there and I'm like, I am cringing inside. Like, I'm melting. This is not the way that I do things. And instead of snapping at him, which would have been old me, it's how can I learn from the way that you're doing things? Because it fucking works.
Yeah.
It works in the way that you do it. So let me just see, even if it didn't work, it's working for you and it's the way that you want to do it. So how can I just look at it from that lens versus squashing it and saying like, that's not high value. That's not the way that I would do it. It's just, it's different. I'm fascinated by how different you are from me. So how can I learn from you instead of trying to make you like more like me, which is far too often what we're trying to do to these men.
Yeah. There's got to be an element of respect, of like really deep respect. And I think that has to be at least what I've recognized in my own patterning, especially, with my own, what's right and what's wrong within my own mind, which that's something that I continuously reprogram, especially within my relationship. I can tend to have a very like strong right and wrong, just like you were saying, like it's not the right way to network. This is the right way. That's the wrong way. Like all of this. What cuts through that is having deep respect for the human being and having deep respect for their purpose and the mission and the drive that they have and the genius that they have and their will to just fucking create something. And I think that's the only way that it works, like at least in my own personal experience. Nolan and I look at each other and I'm like, I wouldn't be with you, I don't think, if you weren't this hell-bent on creating something and so strong within your purpose and your vision for this world, because I would probably steamroll you. Like, I just, it's like I have to have someone whose why matches mine. We don't have to do things in the same way, but that initial drive and the why behind everything has to match. And so now that I have someone who matches me in that way, it's like, okay, so I called this in. Now, instead of just being excited, like, oh, I have someone whose like purpose matches mine. Okay, awesome. We're both driven. Now it's like, oh, fuck. I just called in a man on purpose. What does it look like to create a life with a man on purpose instead of creating a life with someone who I can mold to my own vision, my own purpose? And for the longest time, our visions were fighting against each other. Whose is going to win? Where are we going to move? Mine or yours? Right? And moving out to Connecticut, I was like, fuck. I'm really in this energy of I will follow you anywhere because I'm following you to fucking Connecticut for your own business idea. I think I'm going to Southern California. This is not where I want to be. Like, that was my whole thing. And I was like, oh shit. His vision on some level, like my body is still in that gravitational pull of like, I will follow you anywhere. Okay, awesome. So now we have two people on purpose. And my body's starting to feel this pull to support his mission while still being on purpose. How do we do this dance together? How do we be in it? And we don't have models for it. Like Nolan and I were just talking, like we don't have a model for what this looks like. And so there are going to be times where, for example, and just to kind of give a little bit more context, I made a shift in November of last year. It was like, I'm going to give him a smidgen of my time. Before I gave him none of my time in his business. I was very much my own business, your own business. we stay in our own lanes. Then I was like, you know what? I've got a skill set. I can set up systems. I can hire people. I can figure out the back end of all of this. You go be the genius and go create incredible jewelry and make relationships. You be in your work. I got this. I'm going to set it up so you can scale. Cool. So I gave him some of my time for that whole identity crisis. Y'all, it was literally like 1 day a week, if that. Identity crisis, right?
It's a fact.
Just mirroring back that stronghold that I had, my identity gripped in with my time. And now I will give, a little bit of my time here and there. Like I meet with our personal assistant every single week. I make sure all the systems are set up. I keep him on track with his goals. Like, not that I'm, creating the goals for him. He sets the goals. I just bring him back to the forefront of his mind, create systems around it so that he can actually just be in his magic and do the thing. And so we're looking at, well, how do we create this? And then there are times where I will overgive and then I'll get fucking bitter and then I'll cry. And he's like, why are you crying? This supports you too. And I'm like, but it's not my mission. This isn't my purpose in the world. And so we're in this like fucking awkward, like it's like we're baby giraffes trying to figure it out of like, okay, what is the balance of supporting your mission? Because we don't have kids. It's not like there's clear-cut roles anymore, right? How do I, be in this balance of supporting his mission and then also making sure that I'm checking off my responsibilities in my own, growing in the way, because that feeds my soul so fucking much. It's my work in this world. I'm not going anywhere. Like, how do I balance both? Yeah. And what's that tipping point where I start to get resentful? And then I have to, rebalance a little bit. What am I doing it for? Am I doing it because I feel like this wouldn't do well unless I'm helping? Mm-hmm. And it's out of my own fear and my safety? Or am I doing it because, no, this is desire. This is how we work really well together as puzzle pieces, which is interesting. And I'm excited to kind of create that. But do you feel like you've ever had a model for what it is that you desire to create moving forward?
No, I don't have parents. not everyone in my family has been divorced and through fucked up shit. Like, and that's something he'll say to me. He's like, you're the one that's changing the generational narrative. He is obsessed with his parents and all kinds of, and he's like, it's a double-edged sword though, because they're the perfect relationship. And at the same time, it's like, how do you model that perfection? Like, you really can't. Yeah. There's just a love that's there. And there's stuff that happens behind the scenes that kids will never know. So you can think that you have great parents, but like, you really don't know the nitty gritty that it took to actually create that marriage. And they're never going to tell you, like, because you're their kid. Like, that's how that's going to work. So I can understand both sides of it. I think it all comes down to communication though. Like, it's the vulnerability of being able to say, like, I thought about it where it was just like, I'm sitting there on a Sunday and I'm sweating and I'm like feeling like I'm biting my tongue and I don't want to say this because I'm not supposed to be this authority figure and blah, 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 versus, and I just looked at him one night and I just go, I'm just scared. Yeah. Like, I'm just scared because I don't know how to do this. And I'm feeling like I'm behind and there's nothing to actually be behind on. And he's like, okay. And so I literally grabbed my laptop, did fucking nothing, literally made a graphic. And he's like, do you feel better? And I was like, I really do. Like, for no reason, I made a thumbnail. Like, I just was like, I just needed to do something. And it was like, I'm just scared. Like, I don't know how to do this. Like, that's been really helpful. And like, that's with everything. It's like, hey, I'm triggered. Hey, this is happening. Hey, like, letting your partner in. And I think a lot of relationships, especially at this level, is like, we want to be strong. I don't want to be too much. He has this on his plate. He has this on his plate. He can't cater to my needs. And like, he's not going to give me the emotional response that I want. I know I've grappled with all of those. And the point of it is, I'm not looking for the emotional response. I'm not looking for you to fix the problem. I need you to know why my heart feels closed right now, or why I'm acting in this way, or why I'm feeling like I'm being pulled in one direction when like I have a business too. Like, I need to focus on it. So it's my job to communicate that to you, because you're like, men, right. They're not going to go, so baby, did you do your homework today? Like, they're like,
oh, their mind is on their mission constantly.
On their mission.
All the fucking
it is
time.
Not on your mission.
Nope.
Because that's not why they marry you. They are thinking more about their mission now that they fucking found you than ever, which means they're not checking in on 100%. Your mission. They're more hell-bent on theirs so they can fucking take care of you. It's not a bad thing. And that's what I have to keep reminding myself. Yeah. He's not checking on me because he's even more driven in his mission because I'm here. And I'm like, check in on me, like do something. But then I like come home and there's like roses and there's like letters and it's like, I am so thankful for you. Like he sees it. It's just, it's not going to be like, hey baby, did you write your sales funnel today? Like that's not where his brain is. And we did actually have that talk because we were talking about different things where it's like, hey, if I'm getting out of alignment, push me in this direction. I was like, great, I got you. And I was like, yeah, if you just see me like not working, can you please like check
I
in
have
and
to tell Nolan
tell
that.
me to work?
Yeah, I have to ask him because there are times where it's very easy for me to get sucked into his work because let's all be fucking honest for a second, because it's back end work. I am not necessarily visible at the forefront. I don't have that much risk in it. It's easy.
Yeah.
When it's your own business,
I love it.
it's easy, right? Like you love it. It's easy, right? Because he's the forefront. It's his business. You're just blowing it up. When it's your own business, more shit naturally comes to the surface. More fears, more visibility shit. Like all of these things come to the surface. You got to deal with your shit, which is the best part. Like I always say business is my most spiritual practice for a freaking reason. I love it. But it can be easy for that I support your mission sort of vibe to shift into, and it's easier to be here, so I'm going to stay here. And I'm actually avoiding the very thing that I have to do. And so Nolan, I ask him where I'm like, if I'm in there for too long, because he knows I will like, then it's like 1 p.m. I flip a shit. I'm like, I have things to do and I'm doing, and he's like, that's not the point of any of this. He will tell me, he'll be like, babe, okay, I love this. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. Go do the things that you have to do. And I'm like, thank you for that like masculine basically container and helping me shift my focus. Otherwise, it's very easy to stay on, one track. And I just find it so fascinating to be a woman. It's so fucking fascinating. Noel and I were talking about this the other day where like, I was like, why do you think this happens, babe? This like, that he's watched me go through like 3 different identity crises in the past year and a half. And there's always, kind of finding the new place of expansion, and he's just building one mission. And he was like, I wonder why that is. And I was like, do you think it's because, even evolutionarily speaking, it's like men are not carrying babies. Their role does not shift that much throughout their life. Yes, as of, once they become a father, yes, they now have a kid and that does shift them. But ultimately, they go even more into provide and protect. So it's just amplifying what's already been there. Purpose, provide, protect. Versus for a woman, and especially in our modern day and age, it's like, yeah, we've kind of, I mean, at least in my experience, I was brought up to provide and protect for myself, to have a vision, to have a purpose, very clearly my own. I love it. It's the best thing ever. It lights me up so freaking much. But I also know that being in partnership, there's this gravitational pull to support his mission as well as hold my own. Okay, now I'm holding 2 things. Okay, interesting. Now, if we were to ever bring kids into the picture, I know my purpose is going to shift even more. Now let's hold 3 things, right? Bring a house into the picture. Oh, now there's this gravitational pull to also take care of the house and to make sure that we have a garden and to cook food. Like, and that's just an innate desire. It's not like, anyone's telling me I have to do this, but it's that desire to want to do that. Okay, now there's 4 things that we're juggling. There's 4 different identities. And then you add in all of the other things that you do. There's so many different identities that are happening. And I can't speak for a man's perspective, but Nolan was like, yeah. He was like, I can kind of see that where he's like, for me, it's not really changing that much. I'm just going to get more and more driven on my purpose. For you, you're juggling different parts of yourself. Your identity shifts over time. And I've been obsessed with Elena Cardone recently, who speaks so well to this entire process. I'm just like, I'm obsessed with her. But I was like, I feel like that's where a lot of the tension can come in these high performer relationships. Is like, you're going to be shifting your identity. He's not necessarily. So how do you dance with that and see it as an absolute plus rather than fighting it the entire time?
Yeah. And that's the dance where it's like, you just figure it out. You fuck around and find out versus fighting it, being like, you don't understand it. It's like, of course he doesn't. Like, it's not how their brain works. It's just, and it doesn't mean you're not being seen and you're not being supported in whatever it is. It's just, they don't think that way.
Yeah.
And their brain, if we can really remove ourselves, and I have to remind myself of this, is like, it is for you. Like, it is not the selfish, I'm trying to avoid you and do the things and focus only on me and blah, 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 and all the narcissist fucking chatter that we have in our brain. It's like, no, they're literally just trying to make your life
Everything.
easier. Like, they really are, and your cute little amygdala is trying to overcomplicate the whole fucking thing. Like, it's just like, it's just meant to be easy. And like, accepting that, yes, as women, we have so many roles, and you're gonna have an identity crisis, especially if you're in this space every fucking day. Like, and you shift and like you transition. Like, I literally was singing into the microphone while you were putting on your makeup. I was like, I'm so sick of being a boy today. I'm ready to be a girl.
Just weird as being a boy. What?
Just ready. Can you come over? Because I don't want my brain cells to work anymore. Like, and it's just learning to bounce between these parts without shaming them.
Without shame.
Like, that's the biggest thing. And like communicating when you are getting a little bit stretched in your service mode versus, you know, you're still receiving, but like there's that like alpha side of you that you start to miss, where it's like, can you communicate that that's what's happening? Can you put boundaries in place so you do have like set days where it's like, I'm fully in my business this day, I'm fully in my business this day, so I can feel okay when I take my weekend off or when I'm supporting you in your business. Like, and that's what I'm navigating right now, is just like really being stern in my boundaries and the structures, and just being like, okay, like my 2 days, I really genuinely only need like 2 12-hour days. And I know that sounds extreme, but like I just need it right now.
Like, be in it completely,
To be
100%.
in it and like not worry about you, not worry about the FaceTimes, not worry about your business, not answer
100%.
any things. Like, I just need 2 days, and then you get 5. Like, that's fine. And that's a good mix. And it's like, and I get 12-hour days, we shouldn't, whatever. I'm an entrepreneur, we work 24/7. Like, that is just the job that we have. And so it's just kind of figuring out what that is right now, and how to add in play and how to add in, because I'm recognizing if I don't give myself those 24 hours like fully immersed, I'm not actually present with him.
Yeah,
Like, I can't actually let loose. Like, I can't, because my brain is split.
Yeah.
And I don't want to split brain. So it's like, how can I start to put these things in place? Because I want to be the supportive partner. Like, that's my dream. I want to be the pre-housewife era. Like, I want that. And I want to be the Pilates mom, and I want to do the thing. And I also have a mission from God, you know? So it's like how to really balance these things. And I mean, to be continued, because I'm still in it. And obviously we're going to both, it's just where we're at.
Systems, baby. We started setting up systems around all of this.
Yeah.
You know, and like we have like a weekly check-in where I make sure like I'm checking off. And this is also because it's like future paced a little bit, where it's like I have certain projects that I'm working on in his business specifically.
Yeah.
And we have a weekly meeting to check in on all of those, check in on any personal stuff as well, like get on the same page. I ask him any questions that I need from him and then delegate out. And then we also have systems around like who cooks dinner when, and like I take care of breakfast and lunch typically, just because I naturally do. He's not thinking about food. That man will literally not eat. He'll just work. And I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna make sure that you're nourished. And then he cooks most nights. You know, it's like we have like different systems for how to balance the support while making sure that I'm also still nourished and still able to completely focus on my purpose and my vision. Very much so. And now even, we're looking at like, how do we reflect my value and my contribution in his business as well, in terms of like ownership and everything.
I love that.
Yeah.
Is there any last thoughts?
Have fun being in the I think my biggest intention with all of this is to not judge where you're at. I'll have clients who will like come to me and being like, oh my God, like I'm falling in love and now I'm worried about this part of my, and like, let yourself be in the season, because the pendulum is always going to swing back into the center, and you're always going to learn something from the extreme that you go to. And if you can just realize that that's part of it, and that it's also okay to not know who you are as a high-powered, on-purpose woman with a high-powered, on-purpose man, and you get to create it every single freaking day. Every day. Every day. How about you?
Don't miss it, right? Like, that's when I came onto my peer mastermind call, and like they're like, what are your updates? And I was like, I am falling. like all the things. And she quickly reflected back to me because like the hype or whatever. And she quickly reflected back of like, do you feel like the struggle of falling in love and building a business? And I was like, 1000%, don't have brain cells. Like this is not the vibe. Like it actually is very hard. And the conversation that we had around that was just, don't miss this phase because of that fear. Like don't, because when all goes as planned, you only get one of these moments. You're building a business for a lifetime, but falling in love, like, yes, you're going to fall in love again and again. Like you say all the time, like I'm falling more in love with this man all the time, but it's like with that initial part, there's nothing bad ever about love, ever. And like we sabotage as high performers the falling in love process because one, we want to get to the end zone and we just want to get the ring and we want to get there so we can have this establishment so we can MacGyver something and probably post it on the internet somewhere. And but like the art Steph's face and then or you sabotage it because you're like, it's getting in the way, my value, my ego, my thing, da da da. It's like you're either rushing it or you're stopping it versus letting it fucking flow. I have no idea where it's going to go with this person, but I'm fully enjoying the fact that this is the season. You know, I love that I'm finally in the space of like learning what you've talked about for so long and like just feeling the ick, not the ick, but like the crunch. It's just like, oh, I don't like this, but like not enough to like leave the situation. Like it's just, oh, this is new. I'm expanding my nervous system. The thing that I just reflected on before jumping on this, where it was like, I have so much to do all the time now. Like when you start to attract leaders, I have lots of leaders in my personal life and I'm doing all of this fucking shit on top of, I have a growing clientele and I have different things and I have all this stuff. And I was like, we're just stretching. Like one day, days like today, when my calendar is filled and I have all this is going to be tiny. This is going to be so small. And so can I just enjoy the growing process of being able to expand, falling in love, expanding my business, expanding my physical capacity, because I'm also on the fitness journey fucking right now, expanding my friendships, or expanding these things and being like, I don't want to miss it. Like I'm just going to soak it in versus thinking something is wrong and trying to rush it or sabotage it. Just like trust and release.
Yeah. Don't miss it. You never get it back.
Exactly.
Never.
Exactly.
It's just new and it's beautiful.
I love it.
I love it. Laura told me she was feeling the 1 month crunch.
Yeah. Oh my God.
I said, call me back when you have the 2.5 year, the 4 year, the 5-year crunch.
I know. I was like, we're entering like the real juice.
But like I say that because it's like
so
there
better.
will always be a crunch. It's not the other person's problem. Like it's most of the time, if you know that they're a good part of human and
like it's nothing to like leave. It's literally I'm feeling my nervous system expanding. Exactly. And that's why I'm like, it's a running joke. I'm not like getting the actual ick. I'm just like my self-righteousness wants to eat you. I say that though
also because like once you validate that they're a good man, that you know there's a resonance there. It's like it's gonna happen, you know, because you're expanding, not because there's anything wrong with them.
Exactly.
And once you can actually just surrender and to realize that you probably don't have a good role model for what you want to create, especially for the modern woman nowadays, then you get to create it and you get to be like a little baby giraffe that's trying to figure out how to walk for the first time. And the biggest thing that Nolan and I have done has been like, we're a team in this. Like we both know that we want something different than what we've seen, but we don't know what that is. And we're going to find it every single day. And we're going to fail some days, and some days it's going to rock. And some days we're going to find your sweet spot. Some days we're not. And that's all okay. And just to be in the process of the entire thing.
Exactly. Awesome. Be in the process of the entire thing. I love you.
I love you. I love all of you guys. Thanks for tuning in.
Make sure you go, if you loved this, share it with someone. And then go write a review because it helps us a lot. We do these every single month and we are growing these pages to get to the top 1%, baby, and it means the world. You can find us on Instagram if you want to come hang out and let us know what landed for you. Mine is it's Laura Patricia Martin, so @ITS Laura Patricia Martin, and then we have
Stephanie Elsperman. Everything will be linked in the show notes.
Yay!
Come party.
Thank you so much.
We'll see
Go
you on the next
party. We're
one.
CEOs in the wild.
In the wild.
See you in the next one.
See you in the jungle. Bye.
Oh.